So this morning, I'm talking with Trey Delgreco with Movement Mortgage. You're a loan officer with Movement Mortgage. Sure. And you are in the Claremont branch, correct?
Correct, yes.
And so I wanted to talk to you really bad for a number of reasons. It's all good reasons. You've been in the industry for a short amount of time, but you're making huge waves. You're a rookie of the year, and you're a fairly young guy. So I want to get the perspective of someone younger than me about the industry, and also sort of the things that make you excited about the future in the industry. So if you want, just kind of tell us how you got involved in the industry, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Mario. I appreciate it. I've been in the business 2 years now. Rewind about 2 years ago, I was selling medical supplies. I got into the business because of my sister-in-law, Jennifer Miklos, with Movement Mortgage, who you work with a lot. She kind of just talked to me about why I might be a good fit for the business, and just kind of decided to take the leap and get to work with people my age, get to work with young first-time home buyers and even older home buyers too. But to move from a business where my client was, surgeons who were older and maybe weren't as able to hang out with me socially, I really wanted a business where I could work with people that I could hang out with and be friends with and kind of fuse those two entities of my life, I guess. So that was what I was really excited about the business. I knew it was going to be hard, but I figured with Jen at my disposal, then she would teach me how to do it and how to do it well. And ultimately, I just decided, I want to go do something I enjoy. I want to work with people I enjoy working with, and that's why I decided to jump into it.
I've heard that you're a bit of a perfectionist, and that probably helps you in this business because having a good teacher is part of it, but part of it is being able to sort of emulate what they teach you quickly and pick up on it quickly, because it's not like going to school where you're in a class for 6 months to learn the concepts. You're going to learn how to do this one opportunity, and then you're sort of expected to hit the ground running. You started in the industry 2 years ago. Have you seen change since you started?
I have. I've definitely seen changes with my business because I didn't know what I was doing 2 years ago. Now I've done, just under 100 transactions. So I've learned a lot, and I've changed a lot of the way I do things now. But namely, just from a marketing standpoint, I see a huge change just from 2 years ago. When I did start 2 years ago, I was in a different market. I was in Alabama. I also worked for a different company that was brand new, and we didn't really have the notoriety or the notoriety of Movement Mortgage. So it was a very different sale for me to go walk up to a realtor and offer my services or try to get business from a realtor. I didn't really have anything to offer. I pretty much said, hey, nobody's going to work harder than me. I'm going to do a great job. Give me a shot. Problem was everybody was saying that, right? Everybody works hard. So when I transitioned to Movement Mortgage, it's allowed me to offer something that I couldn't offer before with our process, with our upfront underwriting, tangible value that I could relay to a realtor. It's just sort of changed my game entirely. And it's so cool to have something now to be able to offer a partnership that's mutually beneficial, and not just to say, hey, give me a chance because you like me, but I'm actually going to provide value to your business as well, and I'm going to help you grow your business. So that's been the biggest change. Obviously, technology has been a huge change here recently. I'm a big video marketing guy, so I like to incorporate videos into my process. So that's something I've adapted in the last 6 months and has been pretty cool as well.
When you are in a company like Movement Mortgage and you say you guys are offering things that are mutually beneficial, I think a lot of real estate agents don't really know what some of those things are. I know them because I work with you guys, but can you outline some of the things that you guys are doing that have made an impact on the business of real estate agents that you work with?
Yeah, so the obvious one is the upfront underwriting. We try to make a point to, if you have a buyer who's shopping and is not we need a pre-qual letter because we're writing an offer today, it makes sense to go ahead and get their documents together because we're not writing an offer today anyway. So let's use this time productively, get the underwriting process out of the way so we can close a little bit quicker. Or if we're one of 4 offers, we're a stronger offer, so that helps you obviously get your contract accepted, but you deliver a better experience for the client because they're not scrambling around searching for documents the week before closing as they're trying to move. and worried about if we're even going to close on time. The fact that we can take care of all that before there's a timeline or a closing date, I mean, it's huge. It just provides such a better experience for the customer. And when they have a better experience, we all get more referrals. So if I can go up to you as a realtor and say, hey, through a better process, we're going to get you more referrals from your clients, I mean, that has endless value right there, right? So that's the biggest thing. But then just from a mentality standpoint, the way our ops center works is pretty incredible. And you can't really see it and appreciate it until you're on the inside. But I'll give you an example. Last week, we had a pretty tight closing. Getting up to the week of closing, we're all kind of running around with our hair on fire. It was some things had changed and we're trying to get it closed. The buyers had scheduled their son's birthday party at the new house the day after closing. So I was, of course, sharing that story with my processor, my underwriter, and I get a phone call from the head of underwriting. She was jumping in the file to help, and she said, hey, I hear we have a birthday party tomorrow. Let's get this thing done. What can we do? And we closed on time. They had the birthday party, and it was a big success story. So the fact that we have people at a high level at our company willing to jump in and do the grunt work, so to speak, to get the job done for the customer is something that I think sets us apart from any other lender out there.
I agree, because that's a company culture thing. And so for the longest time, it was kind of perceived that underwriters were working against loan officers. And so I feel like Movement was one of the first companies that really kind of had a paradigm shift on that and said, we're all kind of trying to achieve the same thing. As far as the upfront underwriting, one of the bigger benefits that I found on it specifically when we were in a lower inventory setting, is oftentimes there would be a 2-week lag between the time that I would show someone a house and when the next house that fit their criteria would come on the market. And during that 2-week lag, I had the benefit of working with a company that was doing upfront underwriting, because that meant that the consumer was still engaged in the process by providing documents and seeking documents and talking with the LO, and I'd be talking to them as well. But it just certainly, if you're engaged on an activity that feels like you're moving forward, there's now a 2-week lag in between when the last house you saw and the next one is going to become available. It doesn't feel like dead time because you're still being productive. So I think that was a huge catalyst at getting a lot of those people through the process and getting them to close, because what I experienced before working with a company that did upfront underwriting was a lot of times, during that window where there was an inventory to show someone, by the time the inventory came online and you call them and you say, hey, let's go see this house, they're like, you know what, we got discouraged, we went ahead and signed the lease for another year, and you're like, oh.
Or they walked into an open house and signed with another realtor without calling you.
Yeah, and so there's definite tangible benefits to it. Another thing that I want you to talk about, tell us a little bit about the app that Movement Mortgage has. So, pretend that I'm a realtor that you just met, and I'm a realtor that's working with some big mega monster brick and mortar bank for my deals. And you're saying, hey, you should probably give us a try because we have this mobile app that does.
Yeah, so we're actually revamping our mobile app, so it's going to have some features coming out pretty soon that are going to be a little bit different. But for right now, it allows them to obviously fill out the application. That's step number one. They can do it at 11:30 at night if they want to, and they've been working all day. They don't want to come to my office, but they want to just do it in the privacy of their home. They can do that, and they don't have to go out of bed to get their computer. They can go right on their phone and do it. It's got a list of all the documents they need. They can take pictures on their phone. They can upload them straight to the online app, and now I can access those documents. So in a perfect world, I've had a client before on a Sunday night apply, and he was approved with all of his documents in, underwriting approved by Monday afternoon. And the convenience of that is something that's really hard to match. And without the technology like the app, he wouldn't have called me at 11:30 at night. He wouldn't have emailed me those documents. I wouldn't have sifted through them. Probably wouldn't have been ready to submit Monday morning. So now we're looking at maybe a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Thursday approval. If you're the realtor and you found him that house, then you may have just missed out on that opportunity. So
yeah, and I think that's a best case scenario, because the reality is that guy probably Monday looks like everybody else's Monday. He's not going to have time to sift through documents and scan them and send them to you. So this may sound strange to someone like you who's young and only been in the industry for a short amount of time, but there's still lenders today days that don't have the ability to do this, and it's also been a game changer This just happened to me this past week, and went to see a place, buyer wants to write an offer on it, and completed everything online and submitted all their documents online from their phone, and they're like, oh my God, I thought this was going to be a nightmare. And I'm like, well, it could be, but it also could be really easy if you are an organized person that kind of has access to all your stuff fairly easily, and B, if you are working with a company that has this technology. And it's funny to hear you say that they're revamping the app as if it was outdated, when it's still kind of cutting edge. It is the gold standard in the industry.
I guess that just speaks to our company. I mean, we're always trying to improve. We're always trying to get better. Even when we have a very powerful piece of technology like the app, we're looking for ways that we can make clients' lives easier. We can make realtors' lives easier. We want to make the whole process easier. We don't want to make it harder. So, I think it's just something that we're trying to take that extra mile mentality to see how we can improve our industry.
As we go forward, you are obviously in a younger demographic, so I've always said that sort of your generation is the generation of convenience. Like, you guys are the people that if you click on Netflix and that movie doesn't start playing in 3 seconds and that circle goes around 6 times, you'll back out of it and go back in it, reload it, because something must be wrong if this thing didn't start in 3 seconds. And what's come out of that mentality is incredible innovation for convenience. And again, Movement Mortgage in the cutting edge of it. Do you see that translating or permeating to other parts of the industry, or more directly, like, have you talked to a consumer, that's your age, that tells you, hey, I wish this part was a little bit more streamlined?
Yes. If you think about what's the biggest complaint about realtors, they don't answer their phone, right? They don't get back to me fast enough. Well, I think that's that same thing. Hey, I called him and I texted him. Why hasn't he responded yet? And frankly, there's a lot of times we can't communicate everything through text message. It's a very high level transaction that we're doing. There's a lot of sensitive information. There's a lot of important information. It's very important that we get it right. So just trying to jam it through in a text message conversation doesn't always work. So I would say that's where people, at least in my age group, my demographic, is they want to just do everything on the app, on the phone, or on the text message. They don't want to meet in person. They don't want to talk on the phone, but a lot of times we have to talk on the phone. So I wish there was a way where you can effectively get all of that communication without having to speak on the phone for their benefit, but a lot of times we have to. And if I'm in a meeting with a client, I can't step out of that meeting to take a phone call all the time or to answer a text message. So I don't really know how we can get around that, because it seems like as we advance that technology, there's that hindrance always kind of right there. And I'm more of a people person. I would prefer to do every application on the phone or in person and do all that. So to answer your question, I don't really know how we continue furthering technology without that obstacle. If I did, I'd probably not be a loan officer anymore.
Yeah, I think the message and what I take out of that is, it doesn't matter what age bracket you're in. You could be 20 or 60 years old and be a real estate agent. But what's going to be crucial is understanding that the largest demographic of folks that are going to be buying houses is going to be millennials. And so if you better start learning to communicate on their terms and what they find to be most effective, which is obviously text, email, and in doing so, in working with companies that are not making that shift and identifying that ability, or that need for people to be able to finish an application on a phone and upload their documents through pictures. If you're not working with companies that are able to do those things, you're probably going to be losing some customers in the process.
Yeah, and I think it's important to keep that personal relationship piece of it too. That's why, with the world of iBuyers and everything, realtors are never going to go away. You have to have a person at the other end of that transaction. You can't solely go back and forth with technology. So companies that can effectively balance that, I think, are going to be around for a long time. Where we as industry professionals can be better is understanding the importance of what parts of the process can we automate and what parts can we not, and how do we effectively communicate that to the buyer. Because at the very beginning of the process, if we can tell them, hey, we can do all this online, we can text back and forth, but you know what, right now we really need to speak on the phone about this, it's very important, when some time that we can get together and do that. And being able to educate them and manage their expectations that you will have to speak to me on the phone. There's pieces that we can't get around that, I think, is what separates really good realtors from really bad realtors, or even loan officers the same way. Because when the clients know what to expect, they usually follow suit. Nobody's going to say, no, I don't want to talk to you on the phone, so I just won't buy a house.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think the disturbing part, I think it just gets really bad when companies sort of stake their flag and say it's going to either be this way. We don't have an online app. We don't have a way for you to do, things that other companies can do on an app or in the computer with the application, the upload of the documents. Or they go the other route and they say, hey, we're an online company. You have to do everything online, because there is that in between. It gets lost, because the scariest calls that I've ever received from a buyer of news they received from the lender that scare them has always been with this sort of online lender outfits that send them an email with some big intimidating words and put this stuff in their inbox, and people don't know what to make of it. And then when they call, it's a 1-800 number and they get bounced around for 30 minutes. And so I just wish there was a way for that to kind of go away, because it really doesn't help the consumer as much. You guys are really in the forefront of this merging culture of, we give you the personal service level, the level of personal service, and we are also going to provide you with the technology that's going to make your life easier and convenient by being able to do things on your timeline, not ours.
Exactly.
What's next for you within Movement Mortgage? What's kind of like what do you see happening in the future with Movement Mortgage? Is your plan to continue being a loan officer in the branch? Is there any growth that you want to do for yourself within the company?
Yeah, I definitely have growth goals for this year. I'm still trying to learn as much as I possibly can. I don't pretend to be this end-all be-all expert that knows everything. And even if I did, it's going to change next week anyway. Right. So I'm constantly trying to better myself, better my communication. I would like to get a more refined process. I've got my processes in place and my strategies, and every Tuesday I do my BombBomb video updates, and I think I would like to get a better idea of my exact weekly structure, because I think that'll help me to better service my customers and my realtor partners. I would like to double my business from last year, and long term, I've got different President's Club type goals that I would like to achieve. So I am a goal-oriented person. Those numbers are important to me, but I don't want to grow so fast that I'm no longer doing a good job for people. I don't want to get so busy and not be able to handle the incoming leads.
So caught up on the metrics that...
Yeah, and okay, great. I have 40 referral partners and I'm getting 1,000 leads a month. Now what? I don't want to crank my AC with my windows down where I've got all this coming in, but I have no way to handle it. So I very much want to grow consistently. I want to grow quickly, but I don't want to outpace myself either. So, we're working on different processes every day, working on different technologies to help us, differentiate now buyers from 6-month buyers and hopefully stay in front of them the whole 6 months.
One of the things that I think you benefit from that other people may not is you're not encumbered by a 10-year history of changes and processes. You're kind of starting on this industry sort of at the beginning of a new era, which is this sort of online communication and big technology put behind the companies. And so I think that's going to make people like you a force to be reckoned with, because again, you don't have to worry about 8-10 years of baggage of information that's no longer relevant today.
Yeah, and it sort of puts me on a level playing field with loan officers that preach the experience model. Hey, I'm experienced. I've been doing this 30 years. Well, great. You and I have been doing this the last 2 years in the same market in the same amount of time, and we're basically on a level playing field with some of the TRID rules and some of the documents.
Things from 30 years ago don't relate to today.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk to some of those loan officers that tell me how they used to pre-qualify a client, and it's pretty comical, really, how they actually used to do it. But yeah, there's the rules are always changing, and even when a rule changes that I now have to adapt to, I find myself getting caught up in the old way of doing things, and I have to check myself and, oh, wait a minute, they just changed that. Let me go back and redo it. And that's only in a couple of years. I can't imagine.
Yeah, you become the old man shaking your fist, and then you're like, oh man, it's only 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for coming over. I want people to look you up in social media. Trey Delgreco, you are with Movement Mortgage in Claremont. You are an incredibly valuable partner to any real estate agent that wants to send you business. And it has been my experience that your knack for being a consummate professional and obsessive about details is always going to net positive results for the agents that partner with you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what we strive to do. I appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you.